What's going on, everybody? Jacob here, Miami Dolphins Syndicate. It is the week of the draft, and I haven't seen anybody else do this, so I thought this would be something cool to do. This is my Miami Dolphins draft bingo. Everybody's played bingo throughout their lives at one point. You know how it works. You gotta get 5 in a row, down, across, diagonally, and if you get it, you win. And there are just so many different things that can happen throughout the draft. And since the Dolphins don't have a first-round pick, and if I'm not mistaken, have the least amount of picks in general, we gotta find something to make a little bit more interesting. Quick side note, we're probably going to do a draft day live stream, even though the Dolphins don't have a first round pick. Probably gonna do it, probably gonna have Donovan do it. I'm probably gonna do it on my own channel. So I'll let you guys know more about that as the week goes on. But let's just get straight into this. The Miami Dolphins draft bingo. The first line is going to be the Miami Dolphins draft a quarterback, simple as. It's something that very likely could happen, not somebody to replace Tua, but just to bring in, have as a backup, and see what happens. Draft a Pac-12 player, a fifth-year player, a below 6-foot player in Alabama. All those pretty straightforward. The below 6 foot, that could be a wide receiver, that could be a running back, probably not a quarterback, could be a kicker. Pac-12, a player from the Pac-12, fifth year, a fifth-year senior player, a player that has been in college for at least 5 seasons, and that is something that's a little bit more likely due to the extension that players got during COVID. So again, draft quarterback, Pac-12, fifth year, below 6 foot, and an Alabama player to round out the first line. The second line, draft a teammate of somebody who's already on the team. So there's a lot of younger guys on the team that have drafted over the last couple of years, like Jalen Waddle from Alabama. That could be a double square right there if you draft an Alabama player who has played with Jalen Waddle, maybe played with Tua. Javon Holland with Oregon, Jalen Phillips with the Miami Hurricanes. There's a lot of players that could be drafted from one of those schools that is currently a teammate with a player already on the Miami Dolphins. A player above 6'5", that could be the quarterback, that could be a wide receiver, that could be an offensive lineman. Just rounding out what the most likely ones for that would be. An ACC player, same thing as the Pac-12, just any player from the ACC, Florida State, Virginia, North Carolina, any of those ACC schools. A player with a full beard. Now you see this right here. You see what I got going on right here. This is not a full beard. This is what? This is a goatee and mustache, whatever you want to call it. This is not a full beard. I'm talking hefty. Minnesota, you want some guys that look like what the hockey players are going to look like that make the finals. Hockey players don't shave their facial hair at all during the playoffs. You want somebody that looks like that in order to check off that box there. And just anybody with the name Chris in their name. It could be first name, it could be last name, it could be Christopher, it could be Christoph if that really happens, which I doubt it would, but Chris, anywhere in the name, those 5 letters combined, it could be in tangent with a few other letters, but the 5 letters of Chris appear somewhere in his name, rounding out the second line. The third, the Dolphins trade up. Dolphins don't have a lot of picks, and again, we're trying to make it more interesting, and maybe the Dolphins make it a little bit more interesting for us, make it a little easier on me. Dolphins trade up in the draft. Wide receiver. Now, this is something that could very easily pair up with that one right next to it to its left. Wide receiver. 6'5". Obviously, you get your free square. You know, we're people of culture over here. We're not going to take that free square away from you. Free square, dead in the middle. Your school. Now, this one, we can be a little bit lenient on. I go to FAU, so not a likelihood that FAU is going to have a player drafted. But let's say you're a Gators fan. Let's say you're an Alabama fan. Let's say you're just whatever school you root for. You got to choose one. Choose one or two. It's your bingo game. Have fun with it. The school you go to or the school you support, I'll accept either of those answers for your school on the bingo card. And then an offensive lineman. I think it's very likely that Dolphins do draft offensive linemen, so that rounds out the third line. The fourth line, an SEC player. Again, same thing as the ACC, same thing as the Pac-12. You get an SEC player, and I purposely put it at that square because that's the hardest one to get. You don't have any route to the middle free square. Likelihood is we're going to draft an SEC player. Player trade. So that involves the Dolphins either trading for a player already in the NFL or trading away one of our own players. Let's say, worst case scenario, don't want to talk this into existence, but let's say the Dolphins can't get a deal done with Christian Wilkins and they decide they're better off trading him for some capital. Hope that doesn't happen. That would be awful. That would be a terrible mistake, but it could happen. So we either bring in a player who's already in the NFL or trade away one of our own players. This one, MD officials. MD obviously being Miami Dolphins. That could be Michael Dixon. I'm just making up names. That could be Marvin Donaldson. Anything. If you have MD in your initials, that gets you onto that slot. A 10+ pick reach. So that would be if a player is projected to be the 50th pick on the board and the Dolphins take him at the 39th pick. That'd be 11 pick reach. That can be based off Mel Kiper. That can be based off ESPN's Big Board. It can be based off whatever you really want. Again, that one we can be pretty lenient on. That just requires the Dolphins to reach 10 picks to grab somebody a little early. And then an animal mascot. Obviously, the Dolphins are a dolphin, so that would qualify, but you can't take anybody from the Dolphins. That would be the Georgia Bulldogs, TCU Horned Frogs, Oregon Ducks. Any team that has a mascot that is an animal would qualify for the final one there on number 4. And then the final 5th row in the Miami Dolphins draft bingo starts off with a Big 12 player. So we've hit most of the big conferences. We have the Big 12, we have the SEC, we have the ACC, and we have the Pac-12. Forgot the Big 10. Oh well, we hate Ohio State over here. And the Dolphins trade back. So we already have trade up at one point in this draft bingo. However, the Dolphins elect to trade back and get some more picks to take later on or take next year. That will qualify. They're a +10 steal. So as the opposite of what we saw with the +10 reach, same thing. Let's assume the Dolphins take a guy who is projected to go 50th, and they end up getting him at number 62. Wherever, I don't know exactly numbers where the Dolphins are picking. A +10 steal for that one there. A Georgia player, same thing as the Alabama. There's going to be a lot of Georgia players. There's going to be a lot of Alabama players taken in this draft. This allows you to check also the SEC box and potentially multiple other boxes. A Georgia player. And then finally, +3. Who? If you and 2 other people you know, either in person or on your group chat, the Dolphins draft a player and your first response is who? There you go. It takes some dude from Grambling State or from South Dakota State that you've never heard of, and 2 of your friends, 2 of your family members, 2 people you are in the bar with watching the game. They say who as your first reaction, you can check that box. I'll let you guys take one last look at this, and please be interactive, play along. I'm going to be playing along, so I mean, maybe we get the same results, but there's a few in here that it could be a little bit different, and by few I mean probably just one, probably just the your school one, or the +3 who and the your school one are really the only ones that could vary. Maybe I should have added a few more. Maybe you can create your own at home. If you create your own Miami Dolphins bingo, let me know how that goes. And if you follow along with this for the draft, let me know your results. Please make sure to like. Please make sure to subscribe. Please make sure to just have fun with us. Play the bingo. The Dolphins draft this year isn't going to be the most fun. Probably make a couple more draft videos before Thursday. But thank you all very much for watching. Again, make sure to like, subscribe. Go Dolphins. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.